Hello guys, I'm Blair. This is just not my story. It is also my late husband Rex's story. Yes, he is no more with us because a horrible accident took him away from me. It has been a full year since it happened and I still grieve for him. But I also chose to remember the good days to try and get through life. Today, I've come to tell you this story just to show you how horrible some mothers can be. My mother-in-law, Sherry, wasn't a nice person at all. She is vain, greedy, and extremely entitled. Ever since her husband had passed away, she depended on Rex a lot for money. I wouldn't say Rex was a mama's boy because his mother wasn't the best one around. She was a little controlling and demanded a lot from Rex after he got a good job. He was supporting her in whatever way he could, but it was never enough for my mother-in-law. She particularly hated me because she thought I was taking away what was her share of my husband's money. She created a lot of drama and even accused Rex of abandoning her for me. But Rex had never entertained her too much. Rex and I dated for 3 years and were married for 4. When we were in the 2nd year of our marriage, Sherry had come to live with us for a few months. I didn't like that idea, but I allowed it because my husband couldn't say no to his mother. Her house was under renovation and she used that excuse to step into our new home and stay with us for a few months. Rex had just bought a house and Sherry was extremely mad at him for spending money on us instead of giving her a new house and increasing her allowance. All we could do was ignore her as she yelled at us about being selfish. Despite all this, we allowed her to stay with us and we realized very late that it was a big mistake. One day, Sherry left to go to her sister's house abroad and didn't tell us when she would return. We were enjoying a few days of peace when suddenly our entire world came crashing down. Rex had gotten a rather big credit card bill and we had no idea where it came from. Rex said, "I don't know what to do, Blair. I don't even know what credit card this is. I never applied for it or have it in my possession." "Are you sure you didn't accidentally get one and forget about it? Maybe someone got hold of that spare credit card." "No, Blair. You know that I always discuss these things with you. If I really wanted to apply for a new card, I would have talked to you first. Besides, I just bought a house. Why would I order a new credit card and put myself further in debt?" "I don't doubt you, Rex. This is all really fishy. I think we need to go to the cops and see what's up." "You're right, Blair. We absolutely need to go to the cops and find out who is responsible for this." Rex and I made a police report and did everything possible to find out who did this. It was when the cops had reviewed the security footage at the bank that they found out who was using the credit card. It was none other than my mother-in-law, Sherry. This woman had literally committed identity theft and applied for a credit card using my husband's details. She was at home living with us when the new card was delivered, and that's why we never saw it or knew where it was. When we found out who did this, Rex was absolutely devastated. I was more angry than ever and wanted to scream and slap the crap out of Sherry. We hastily made a phone call to my mother-in-law to confront her. Her reaction was not something we had expected. She didn't apologize or even show remorse for her actions. Instead, she said, "Yes, I took out that credit card in your name, Rex." "Mom, why would you do that? What's wrong with you?" "What is wrong with me, son? Tell me what is wrong with you. You went and bought a house and didn't care when I asked you to give me more money. So you thought it would be a good idea to take out a credit card in my husband's name behind his back? I did what I had to do to make Rex fulfill his duty as my son. If he had just done what I had said, I wouldn't have gone to such length." "Mom, you need to come back and pay all this debt. can't afford to lose so much money. Well, the debt is in your name, so I'm not paying anything. You should be ashamed of yourself, Rex. You can't ask me for money. I was mind blown at the way Sherry was dealing with the situation. She was taking no accountability for her actions, and even said that Rex was responsible for the debt since only his name was on those cards. Mind you, guys, this is the same woman who actually applied and spent money on that card. I was so angry. I said, he can absolutely ask you for money when you are the one who landed him in debt. Mom, you need to pay it back. I can't take on all this debt. Don't be so dramatic, Rex. If you can afford to buy a house, you can afford these debts as well. I am not paying a cent. You will come back and pay us, Sherry. We will sue you if you don't. Good luck with that. I'm abroad, and there's no way the cops could catch me. I'm not paying for that credit card. Do what you want. Sherry said that and hung up on us. We were in utter disbelief at what she said. She absolutely refused to take any accountability and mocked me when I said I would call the cops on her. It was then that we realized that she had planned this all. She had intentionally flown to another country so that we couldn't make her pay us back. We tried contacting Sherry again, but she simply wouldn't pick up the phone. She blocked us, and even her sister wasn't answering our calls. We tried everything to reach her, but she was long gone out of our reach. We talked to the cops and even tried to find out from the family what Sherry's plan was, but no one could help us. In the end, we had to just try and get the charges reversed. While we were able to get some of those charges reversed, we couldn't do that for all. So we were stuck paying for the majority of the debt that Sherry had put us into. 2 years passed, and we still couldn't get rid of all that debt. Rex had debts for his car and college as well, so it's not like he had a lot of spare cash. Things were hard, and he was forced to take up another job. While the house was in Rex's name and he was supposed to pay the mortgage, we soon realized that it wouldn't be possible. So Rex transferred his new house to me, and I started to pay for the house. I also came into some inheritance from my grandparents, and with that, I was able to pay off the house. I offered to help Rex with the debts, but he didn't want to take my money. We had to compromise a lot and had 2 bad years, one after the other, but things would get even worse for us. One day, when Rex was coming back from his second job, he got into a car crash. He was exhausted and fell asleep at the wheel. The crash was horrible, and it landed him in the hospital with pretty bad injuries. The doctors told me point blank that I should not hold on to hope. He was conscious, but they knew that he wouldn't be alive for long. While he was in such a poor state, I still remember him saying, "Can you promise me something, Blair?" "What is it, Rex? Tell me, honey." "If something ever happens to me, make sure you still go through with the lawsuit, Blair." "Why are you worrying about that right now? Please, let's not talk about this nonsense right now. I am in this mess because of the debt, you know. I even destroyed your life with it. If I die, I know you'll be responsible for it. I don't want you to be saddled with debt because of me and my mother. I feel responsible, and the guilt is eating at me. I don't want the money back. I will be fine. It's not your fault, so please don't feel guilty about this." "I know that, Blair, but still, I want my mother to face justice. She destroyed our lives with her selfishness and greed. I want her to pay for her actions, even if I'm not here." "You will be here, Rex. We will fight this together. Nothing will happen to you." "We can never know what will happen, Blair. Just make sure Mom doesn't get away with what she did." I promised Rex that I would make sure Sherry faced justice. I was only trying to placate him because I was still holding on to hope that he would survive. But my hopes were crushed soon after. Rex passed away after 2 days. We actually couldn't afford to take him to a good hospital because of his debts. I couldn't see him in pain and prayed to God that Rex would recover soon. Well, he didn't recover, but at least he is not in pain anymore. I did feel very guilty for not being able to save my husband. The doctors and all family members assured me that I did everything I could. Still, there was always this feeling of guilt that I couldn't let go of. I did the best I could and landed myself in a lot of medical debt because I was in charge of paying Rex's bills after he passed. I remember not being able to plan Rex's funeral properly because I had to take up 2 jobs to tackle the medical bills. I was only grateful that I had a permanent roof over my head and didn't have to worry about rent. I couldn't even find the time to properly grieve the love of my life. I was running around working and cried my eyes out in the bathroom during my work breaks. I literally had to borrow money from my family to arrange his funeral. I could have sold our house and made some money, but I didn't want to let go of it after Rex's passing. I definitely would have mortgaged it or sold it if I had the time to take Rex to a better facility. He had passed away before I had the time to do that. During those moments of pain and sadness, I also felt extremely angry at my mother-in-law. She was the prime reason I couldn't enjoy my last days with my husband. She was the reason that Rex died worrying about his debts, and he didn't even get to enjoy his life because she made the selfish decision of stealing money from him. I would never forgive that witch. I was desperate for some retribution and was waiting for the chance to bring her down. God listened to that prayer of mine and granted me an amazing opportunity. Rex's funeral was scheduled a few days after he had passed away. He had a lot of good friends who wanted to come to the funeral but lived in faraway states. On the day of the funeral, almost everyone who got an invite had turned up to pay their respects to Rex. I was a crying mess throughout the day and was able to compose myself shortly before Rex was lowered to the ground. A while later, when I was having some light conversation with people around me, I saw someone I had never expected to see at my late husband's funeral. I think you guys can guess who had decided to show up. Yes, it was my mother-in-law, Sherry. As soon as my eyes landed on her nonchalant face, I was immediately overcome with anger. I wanted to run to her and punch her to the ground. But I composed myself because at that moment, I also saw the great opportunity God had sent me. I walked up to her with an eerily calm face and said, "What on earth are you doing here, Sherry?" "What do you think I'm doing here, Blair? My son has just passed away and I should be at his funeral. You should have sent me an invite." "Why do you think you're entitled to an invite? You had no love for your son, Sherry. You only saw him as a money maker. And you ran away with his money. You think you still deserve an invite after all this?" "Oh, that's all in the past. I know my son isn't the one to hold grudges. I'm his mother after all. I'm pretty sure he has gotten over it. Is that why you never bothered reaching out when he tried to get in touch with you? Save your lies for someone else, Sherry. Those lies won't work on me. Tell me why you were really here." "Well, you decided not to send me an invite, so I just came over by myself. I got the information from his friend's posts and decided to drop by and see what he had left for me." Sherry, being the extremely entitled and evil woman she was, had come to Rex's funeral only to look for her inheritance. I was right in assuming that she wasn't just there to pay her respects. She had some ulterior motive in attending Rex's funeral. She cared nothing about her own son and had betrayed him in the worst way possible. But She still had the audacity to think that Rex had moved on and forgiven her just because she was his mother. Oh, she was wrong about that. But I wasn't going to tell her that outright. I said, "What makes you think Rex has left you anything?" "Why won't he leave me anything? I'm his mother after all." "I think we have already established the fact that you have been a horrible mother to him." "And I told you that my son would never hold grudges. He loved his mom too much. We would have been happy if you weren't in the picture." "I know you would have loved that, Sherry. Well, guess what? I am in the picture." "I bet you don't want me to get my rightful inheritance. That's why you didn't invite me to the funeral." "Well, you can't keep me away, Blair. I will get what I deserve from my son." "What makes you think he had anything left after you landed him in a huge debt?" "If not money, I can say for sure that he has left me half of his house." I started to laugh at Sherry when she said that. She started to look a little uncomfortable when I did that. She looked around and saw that everyone present at the party were eyeing her like the disgusting person she was. Soon, she became conscious of the fact that the people at the funeral were all against her. Anyone else would have just paid their respects and left as soon as possible. But no, Sherry was determined to get what she thought her son had left for her. And she had assumed that the house was still in Rex's name. I laughed and told her, "Oh, Sherry, you have no idea about anything, do you? The house is actually in my name." "What? What do you mean? That's impossible. My son had bought that house. Did you trick him into signing it to you?" "Well, no, Sherry. I didn't trick him into anything. After what you did to him, he couldn't afford the mortgage anymore. So he transferred the house to me so that I could pay the mortgage." "Then I will get no part of the house?" "No, Sherry, you are not getting my house." "Well, okay then, but my son must have left me something. You better tell me what it is before I get the lawyers involved. And I don't buy your story about the house either. I will find out soon if you are lying." Sherry should have taken the chance and got out at this time, but she stayed behind to argue and threaten me with a lawsuit. What an irony, right? Well, she was just about to be hit with some bad news, and she wasn't even aware of it. I decided to humor her and said, "Sorry about that, Sherry. You don't have to file a lawsuit against me. There is something that Rex has left behind for you." "See? It wasn't so difficult to accept that now, was it? You thought you could get away with hiding what is truly mine. Well, bad luck, because I'm here to have my share. Now, tell me what he has left behind for me." "Do you really want me to tell you what your son has left behind, Sherry?" "Okay then, hear this. Your son has left behind a lawsuit for you." Sherry looked confused when I said that. I guess she had really thought that her son would forgive her for everything she did to him, that he was going to forget about her actions and just accept what she did because she was his mother. She actually hadn't considered that Rex had filed a lawsuit against her. This evil woman was on another level. I don't know what kind of mother could be this cruel to their own son. I was very angry, but I also felt good because I knew justice was coming for her. But Sherry was still confused and said, "What are you talking about, Blair? What lawsuit?" "Do you really think that your son has let go of what you did to him? Do you think that he has listened to you and just paid everything off like you asked him to? Well, if you think that, you are wrong." "What does this mean, Blair? What did my son do?" "Your son reported you to the cops, Sherry. There is a big lawsuit against you, and there is also a warrant for your arrest." The look of pure shock on Sherry's face was rather nice to watch. I hope Rex watched that too from above and was satisfied with the fact that justice was finally getting served. Telling Sherry about the lawsuit was just the first step. Rex's friends were already starting the process to move to the next step, but only I knew what they were doing. Sherry was just shocked to her core and started to look really panicked. She said, "No, my son can't do this to me. This is impossible. He wouldn't report me to the cops." "Well, he did that a long time ago, Sherry, and I supported him all the way. This is what you deserve for betraying us. Now you will be paying back what you owe my husband." "No, I won't pay back anything. My son is dead." "But he left you the lawsuit." "And I will be proceeding with the lawsuit on his behalf. I won't let you go, Sherry. You will be going to jail." The fear and dread on Sherry's face was everything I needed to see before I died. The woman had finally understood that she was in a big mess. She had a big lawsuit against her, and she would be held accountable for her actions. I noticed that she started to shake when I mentioned that she would be going to jail. But then Sherry tried to act courageously and said, "I'm not giving you anything, and I wouldn't be going to jail. I will leave before anyone can catch me." "If that was your plan, Sherry, you would have left a long time ago. It's too late for that now." "What do you mean, Blair?" "Well, the cops had been called the moment you had entered the funeral home. They are almost here to arrest you. You hear the sirens, right, Sherry? That is your cue to know that your life will change for the worse. Justice is coming, Sherry. You will pay for what you did to me and my late husband." Sherry freaked out and started to run away from the funeral home. However, the guests who had come had caught her and kept her hostage till the cops came inside. They arrested her on the spot, but not before she struggled with them and tried to punch a cop. Well, she got charges added to that too. She was a crying mess when the cops took her away, and the entire room started to cheer at the scene. Everyone knew what she had done to Rex and me, and they were as satisfied as me to see her get arrested. That day, I finally smiled genuinely because I was able to avenge my late husband. I went ahead with the lawsuit after Sherry got arrested. She tried to beg the judge to forgive her actions, but the judge got mad at her and gave her a big lecture. In the end, she went to jail for 6 months and had to pay everything she owed my husband. She cried a lot, even in court, because she knew that her life would never be the same again. I must say that I enjoyed watching as she cried her eyes out and was taken away in handcuffs. No one was on her side, and she had to face it all alone. I gave her a smug smile when she looked at me and let her know silently that I was enjoying the karma she was getting. I have since been able to get all the debts transferred to Sherry. Whatever amount I had got from the court was spent on Rex's pending medical bills, but I still had some amount left. I decided to make a donation to Rex's favorite animal shelter in his memory. My late husband was a man with a heart of gold, and I knew making this donation would be the best way to honor his memory. Things are slowly starting to go back to normal for me, but I still miss my husband dearly. There are still nights when I cry myself to sleep, but there are good days as well. I am just glad that I got Rex his wish of seeing his mother face justice, and I'm sure he is happy that